How's your French?
No.
No? No French?
No French.
Mr. Arya, if you're going to run for prime minister, I mean, you have to know that the French language matters and the French it matters in Quebec.
Fahasi destroys him. Welcome back to Muslim Loose. My name's David. Today's top story here. We've got a liberal gets fact-checked and destroyed on live TV. We've got Chandra Arya. This is a no-name backbencher liberal who has stepped forward now as the second liberal to throw his hat into the leadership race. This is going to be one of the most bizarre interviews you'll ever see. I'm not going to spoil it. Enjoy. This is an interesting clip here. It basically says, yes, folks, the president of the Laurentian Ski Club has spoken openly saying the next liberal leader must be from Quebec. Any questions? It's all in French, but I think we're good on the Quebec leaders. We've had one long enough. Next up, we got this one. It says 28 MPs could be denied their pensions from Parliament being prorogued. Trudeau's prorogation leaves Parliament with 28 Liberal and NDP Democrats without their pensions should they not be re-elected. Yeah, most likely they're not getting re-elected. Boo-hoo. I've sacrificed 42 years of my life to Canada and never had a handout or a pension. This is how I think most people feel. I have no pension. Why are we giving MPs pensions? Are they really that valuable? Exactly. There should be pensions after a few years. That's ridiculous. So what you're about to see here is one of the most insane interviews, partially because you can't understand what the guy's saying, and also the fact that this guy's running for prime minister. There's also some bombshell nuggets in here.
And current Ottawa MP Chandra Arya, who is with me live now in studio. Mr. Arya, good to see you. Thank you for making the time.
Thanks for having me.
So just before Christmas, I remember seeing on social media, you kind of appeared to endorse Chrystia Freeland as a leader, saying, Christia's approach, polite yet firm, has demonstrated her capacity to stand up to even the most intimidating personalities, embodying the strength of an iron fist in a velvet glove. Now, Ms. Freeland has not announced that she's in, but she certainly hasn't announced that she's out. Why have you decided to step in yourself instead of throwing your support behind her?
During holidays, I did give a great deal of thought on what exactly is ailing Canada today. We have had unprecedented structural problems today. We have got younger generation who can't afford homes. Working middle.
I can't understand what he's saying. I'm picking out one out of every 5 or 3 words or something.
Class people. In fact, the wage rise during the last 5 years for the third and fourth quintile people, about 40% Canadians, it is 25% below the top 20 and the bottom 20. And
dude, you can't be prime minister if you can't speak clean English. Whether people don't like it or not, the optics matter. You have to be able to speak with presence, with nuance, and with clarity. Can this guy speak French?
13 million working Canadians don't have workplace pension. Many of them will be retiring directly into poverty. So these are structural problems that requires very tough political decisions that are necessary, and I think I'm the one who can make it.
Why should Canadians believe you when you've been part of a government that has overseen those structural problems, the existence of them? I'm not attributing all blame to them, but surely Canadians would look at you and say, hey, you're saying there's big issues with the middle class. People can't afford a home. Well, you've been part of a government that didn't fix that problem.
Technically, I'm not part of the government. I'm a member of parliament. Our job as a member of parliament is to hold government accountable.
Yeah, he's not part of the government. He's holding them to account. He wasn't a part of the Liberal government. This guy is a Liberal. I've only had this guy on the channel once, and that's because he's a Hindu, and there's another guy. They're having this religious clan war in the House of Commons. They're both Liberals fighting each other. The other guy threatened to take him outside and fight him. There was an F-bomb dropped. It was all a thing. That's the only time that this guy's been pulled up, because he's a backbencher. He's been sitting back there making $200,000 a year, voting yes to anything Trudeau puts on the table. And now he's not accountable? He has nothing to do with it?
Yes, some of the things that have been there, like 13 million working Canadians having workplace pension problems, it has been there for decades. So a lot of things that have been coming up, growing up, now it's all accumulating because the post-pandemic scenarios, everything changed. In fact, economists, they can't depend on the models anymore. Some of the things that are...
I can't even figure out what you're trying to say, let alone the models and whatever you just said before that.
And I have to, again, respectfully challenge you, though. I take your point that you weren't in cabinet, but you are, as a backbencher, a member of the Liberal government. And until a number of weeks ago, you were actually one of the people supporting Prime Minister Justin Trudeau staying on. So again, I'll put to you, when you okay, take the issue of pensions aside. Yes, that's been around for a long time. When you talk about housing affordability, that emerged, before COVID, but was definitely punctuated right after COVID. It took years, a couple years after that, for your government to respond. Why should Canadians believe you will be more responsive?
This guy's getting fact checked on live TV here. I'm glad Vassie's doing it because it can't have this. Come on. This guy's saying he's not a part of the government. He's going to hold the government to account. He wasn't technically a part of the government. He's just an MP. He's sitting in the back and he's voting. He's voting to support Trudeau. Does this guy think we're stupid? How did he even get this position?
Again, look at the solutions I'm proposing. I'm proposing we'll guarantee orders for 100,000 prefab homes, cooperation of the municipal governments and the provincial governments.
I wanted to ask you about the race itself, right?
Yep.
Because other people have waited until the rules were announced.
Yep.
You didn't.
Yep.
Why not? Are you not worried about the threshold? For example, I'm hearing somewhere between 350,000 or 500,000. There's also debate about the rules, which I want to ask you about in a second. But
so that 350, that 500, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, $350,000 to be able to enter the race. I was making a joke here the other day. Could any conservative YouTuber just go in there and get their followers to vote for them and make them the next leader and then call an election immediately? Well, you'd have to pay whatever the entrance fee is. And now looking into it, I believe back in the 2013 leadership race for the Liberals, it was $75,000. And now they're talking, I've heard on CBC, they said 200,000, 250,000. She's mentioning 350,000, upwards of $500,000 just to enter this race. Who would want to enter this race knowing they're going to be prime minister for a month? You can see here they're talking on CBC about $500,000 to buy into the Liberal leadership race.
I think what they're all doing, in fairness to them, is waiting to see what the rules say.
Right.
Is it $500,000 that you got to put in before you become a candidate? What are the rules for membership? They do have a huge problem. Just before I was coming on air, I was looking on Twitter or X, and I was talking about the number of people signing their dog up to be a Liberal member.
Yeah.
That suggests to me that they've got a big problem. This giving away memberships for free, it was always a mistake, and they're going to pay a price if they don't fix that.
why didn't you, wait until those rules before committing?
Time is short. I have to start organizing across Canada. As you know that in this race, every single of 338 ridings have got equal weightage. I have to reach people in British Columbia, people in Halifax, people in Saskatchewan. So that is the reason why I had to rush it, announce it. So getting ready, whatever the limit they want to place it on.
So you think no matter what, even at $350,000, 400, 500, you'd be okay with that?
I will do. Doesn't matter what is the limit they're going to put in terms of the expense or the deposit. I will meet it.
He will meet it. So if it's $500,000, he'll meet it. Let's do some quick math here. So this guy's been sitting on the back bench making let's just say $200,000 a year for the last 10 years. It's not technically 9 years. Let's just round it up. 10 years, 200 grand. That's $2 million he's made sitting there. Now, say he has been very good at not paying tax. He's had sneaky ways of not paying tax, and he's had to live on that money as well. Say he walks away with $1 million, half of that money over the last 10 years. Say he's really frugal. Is he going to take out of his savings for the past 10 years, is he going to take half of that to enter a Liberal leadership race, of which there's only 3 months until March? Likely 2/3 of that will be taken up by this Liberal leadership race. So if he wins this, he pays $500,000. He becomes prime minister for 1 month. This is highly corrupt. Is this guy getting paid off by Modi? This guy's a Hindu. Is he getting money from India? Is that why he's running? This makes no sense. No one would spend their money like this. And one other thing to note is they can fundraise for this and use those fundraisings to do that, but they don't have enough time to fundraise. So these guys are going to have to fork the bill out of their pocket, essentially. Are they going to have this big wave of Liberals coming out with their pocketbooks to pay for this? I don't think so. The other thing to consider here, say he spends $500,000 to join the leadership race, and say he wins and he's prime minister for 1 month. Then he gets obliterated by Pierre Poilievre. He would still be the leader, but he would be of a party that gets obliterated. It might lose party status. Who's going to spend $500,000 to take that risk? I get it, they can fundraise, but they don't have the time for that. This whole situation reeks of foreign interference.
Been also very vocal against a foreign agents registry, and there is some consternation from people in your caucus about the eligibility rules for voting in this leadership race. My understanding, based on talking to other MPs yesterday, was that there was a real appeal made to the party leadership to make it so that just citizens and permanent residents are able to vote. Are you supportive of that?
Absolutely. In fact, my thing is that I've already sent a note to my volunteers across Canada. Make membership, but limit limited to citizens and permanent residents only. And on the foreign agent registry, if you read the petition itself, that petition is not against the registry itself. The petitioners support that registry be there for foreign agents, but how you approach it, whom you cover it, not the academicians, not the...
I can't follow. I'm struggling to understand what he's even saying. It is so obnoxious to try to listen to. I think he's saying limit it to permanent residents and citizens to be able to vote. This is insane. Canadian citizens are the ones who should be able to vote. And to be prime minister, to enter the leadership race, it should be Canadian born, period.
Just one final question to you, Mr. Arya, around national security in that vein. You, I think by some of your colleagues, are seen to have close ties with the Indian government, or Modi. You had a visit in the summer. Since then, I know you're well aware of the accusations being leveled against agents of that government, going so far as to be accused of being complicit in murder here on Canadian soil. What do you say to Canadians who would have concerns about your ability to secure our national security or not be compromised?
I would tell Canadians, during the last 12 months, I've met two prime ministers of two different countries. I met two foreign ministers, and the year before, I met a president, a prime minister, and several ministers. Here, some of these people who have been attacking me is because of my religion. I'm a Hindu. So Modi and India happens to be a Hindu country. So that is the reason that country. But see my actions, see my statement through my entire career, at least 10 years as MP. You have any problem in that?
Do you have...
I got a problem. You've been voting with Trudeau. That's the problem. But you're not responsible. You weren't technically in the government. The guy literally said that.
Concerns, though, about the actions of agents of the Indian government, according to, again, what your government has accused very publicly happened?
Absolutely. I made very clear in this very studio that no foreign country have got any business interfering into our domestic affairs.
This guy doesn't have a chance to win. Why is he entering? He knows he can't win. This guy has such a low chance of winning that if Justin Trudeau entered the Liberal leadership race, he would have a worse chance at winning against Justin Trudeau. That's how bad this guy's odds are. Trudeau still has some people swooning over his hair that will get some votes. This guy will get no votes, unless they're votes coming from foreign interference. I can't be the only one here. As a Canadian by choice, I find this utter nonsense. Canadians by birth should be the ones representing Canada, not Canadians by choice. This is ridiculous. Oh my God, I can't even understand what he is saying. Come on, this guy has no chance. Now do it in French. Yeah, does he even speak French? So later on here, I found this clip of Arya on Power and Politics on CBC, and he was asked if he speaks French. Here's the answer.
How's your French?
No.
No French?
No French.
Okay, the Liberal Party of Canada is the party of official bilingualism. It's going to be a tough one. I don't speak French either, so
The point is that whether the Quebecers or English Canadians, it's not the language that matters, it's what is that they deliver to them.
But the language matters very much in Quebec.
No. At the end of the day, Quebecers see who delivers what. You know, we have English-speaking, French-fluent prime minister for all the time. One of the things that matters to Quebecers are being a sovereign country, a sovereign republic. Yeah. And which prime minister has ever talked about?
This guy is so delusional. He doesn't understand how people work. He doesn't even understand how he appears to all of us. We can barely understand his English, let alone he doesn't speak French. This is just a clown show. Put him in the seat. This will be funny. Make him prime minister.
For that.
Mr. Arya, if you're going to run for prime minister, I mean, you have to know that the French language matters and the French it matters in Quebec.
Trust me.
Profoundly.
Trust me.
Trust me, bro. I know what I'm talking about. You got David Cochrane laughing at you in your face on his show here.
End of the day, for French Canadians and English Canadians, the matters most is that how the children and grandchildren are going to prosper in this country. That is the thing that matters.
Okay.
Apparently that's what matters. Trust me, bro. I know what I'm talking about. This guy is a buffoon. This guy is seriously unfunny joke, just like the rest of the Liberal Party. Won't win his seat, can't speak much French. I think he's perfect pick for the PM. Look at this. In fairness, he can't speak English either. 2 official languages and he's not fluent in either. These comments. Is he trolling? I can't understand him. 338 has him losing his own riding 45 to 29%. I don't even know what he said 100%. Please put him in. I want the Liberals to have 0 seats after the election. Is this a joke? Guy can barely speak English. Whether people like it or not, optics matter. You have to be able to speak very precisely, cleanly, and with powerful language. This guy does not have that. I don't know how he got into this position. He will not be the next prime minister. We also have Liberal MP Chad Collins. He did come out against Justin Trudeau's holiday tax break thing, not supporting seniors with those imaginary checks that are not going to be sent out. He's further saying good riddance to Trudeau here.
He made the right decision. I think it should have happened last year.
Collins also says he was disappointed with one aspect of Trudeau's resignation speech.
It has become obvious to me with the internal battles that I cannot be the one to carry the Liberal standard into the next election.
Collins says it wasn't fair to try to shift the blame to Liberal MPs.
I think, left out of that speech was the whole issue of Canadians have tuned him out. We wouldn't be having this discussion if I think the Canadian public still had confidence in his leadership.
But Collins says it isn't certain that the NDP will vote to defeat the government when Parliament resumes in late March.
This is interesting that he's saying that. So maybe there is a sneaky deal with Jagmeet. That is a very valid point by Chad Collins that Trudeau placed the blame. He's trying to place the blame on the other Liberals. That's what Trudeau knows best. Once again, raised as a spoiled kid. He doesn't know how to take responsibility. He doesn't know how to process that. So he just places blame. What will this greasy weasel Jagmeet Singh do?
As Jagmeet Singh says he'll do.
So many things can happen in a couple of months, but I would think that we're probably still governing in March into April and possibly even into May and June.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre hasn't appeared in public since Trudeau's resignation, but his House leader says Canadians are suffering under Trudeau policies like the carbon tax.
The reason why so many Canadians are so angry at this government is because of the misery that the Canadians are experiencing.
In Hamilton today, people were generally glad to see Trudeau go.
I think the carbon tax brings food prices up, which isn't good for me as a student who's going to go buy food right now.
We just need somebody to care about the country a little bit better and care about what regular people like ourselves are going through.
They're all bad, so it doesn't really matter.
In the U.S., President Joe Biden said the United States will find no better ally, no closer partner, and no steadier friend than Canada and Trudeau. But Republican House of Representatives member Marjorie Taylor Greene accused Trudeau of tyrannical COVID abuse and destroying free speech. She said President Trump has liberated Canada after trolling Trudeau by calling him Governor of Canada. While the Canadian Taxpayers Federation says the carbon tax should be gone with Trudeau as the Liberal leadership candidates reject the tax.
The second thing out of their mouths, other than, hi, my name is so-and-so, should be, and I'm going to scrap the carbon tax.
This is interesting. So if they actually do get a candidate in there that axes the tax, then Pierre can't use that in the campaign, but it won't matter. We're not going to forget. It's not like they had one scandal or two scandals or 10 scandals. It's like 100+ scandals, and they're all massive scandals that make Stephen Harper's $16 glass of orange juice quite literally nothing.
Because this is Trudeau's carbon tax. This is his millstone. There's no need for any Liberal member of Parliament anymore to have this hanging around their necks.
So the Taxpayers Federation says scrapping the carbon tax could save a few Liberal seats across the country, although the government would still likely be defeated in an election. Chad Collins told us today he hasn't decided whether he's going to run again in Hamilton East Stony Creek.
And the reason for that, Hamilton East Stony Creek, is because he's going to get decimated because the Liberals are in third place. That's why. It's a waste of time. Next up, we got this. I believe there's a correction here. This is in Scarborough, not Brampton, but there's a couple of thieves, and these guys did a citizen's arrest and tied these guys up. And when the cops showed up, no one would admit to doing it.
Who did this? My right leg. Who put this male in custody? Which one of you guys put him in custody?
This is hilarious. So what are we going to see tomorrow in Canada? Looks like they're worried about who put him in custody. Shame on the cops. No wonder criminals are getting bolder. I mean, these guys literally did their job for them and they seem annoyed by it. We're going to end off this episode on a lighter note. We've got the oldest living woman has finally died at the age of 116.
The world's oldest woman has died. Tomiko Ichuka, born in 1908 in Japan, was recognized by Guinness World Records as the world's oldest woman at the age of 116. Ichuka passed away from natural causes on December 29th. A 116-year-old Brazilian woman, born 16 days after Echuca, now holds the title of the world's oldest woman.
This is crazy because she was born before the first World Pow Pow event. She lived through them all and doesn't even look that old or haggard for 116. If you're wondering, the oldest woman ever was 122 years old. She lived long enough to have her super centenarian Sweet 16. There we have it. Two liberals have put their hat in the race. Both of them, they're not going to win. The no-name billionaire and now the guy who doesn't speak English. I don't think so. Is this the best the liberals can do?